And okay, we're on.
Oh, it said live. We're live.
Hey again, everybody, and welcome into Talking Tuscaloosa. Luke Robinson along with Jimmy Stein. As always, Jimmy, how are you today?
We're the idiots, assuming that we did the intro. Was the intro? We never hear the intro, but the intro says we're idiots and nothing's changed.
I'm ready to get a new intro, though. I've said that before.
Yeah, it's just Katie's going to be a little more pricey now. She's in the big time. You know, when we did this years ago, Katie was still a student, I think, and now she is a big time reporter for Fox Sports Dallas, Fox Sports Southwest, or something like that. One of the Fox Sports.
She won't forget the guys who made her what she is today.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, it's this podcast and the good folks at Pringles.
Without us, she would have just been, another hot, talented, smart, successful young woman.
Yeah, without us, she's probably in Laura Rutledge's spot. Yeah, I'm glad we could stop that from happening.
We bailed her out of that. Whew, yep. That was a close one.
I'm sure she's so grateful.
Okay, well, Jimmy, we beat the shit out of Missouri.
Sort of.
Yeah, it is sort of. And you know what's funny? This is what Nick Saban has relegated me to. We had another couple come over with their two young girls, and Krista and I had baby Sela, who just turned 2 over there. And, I was just sort of casually following the game versus what I normally do, which is stay with my butt cheeks clenched until, we're up by 35 points. I mean, I was just sort of I was watching it and I was into it, but I wasn't as focused on it as I was before. And I looked up and said, oh my God, I said, I can't believe we're only up 3. I said, but that's going to change so quick. I wasn't worried about it in the least. And the next thing I know is 27-10 with like 9 minutes to go in the second quarter. And we only score 12 more points. Now they don't score any more points, but the rest of the game, I think I speak for most of Tide Nation. We spent worrying about whether or not Tua Tagovailoa is really hurt.
Right. And similarly, I wouldn't say similar. I was there and stayed. So I got a good look at it. What's weird to me, Luke, is I'm doing exactly what I said in the offseason I would be upset at other people for doing, and I'm sitting here doing it right now. Which is, the line was 28 or 28.5. We cover the line. That doesn't mean we won the game. We won the game by more points than Las Vegas said we would. Now, close, half a point. And yet, it felt like we didn't play that great. Now, I'm talking about on the offense. The defense clearly did. It's kind of weird. Like I said during the offseason, what's going to set me off is when we cover a line, we cover the spread, and the fans all act upset over the way we played. And I'm not upset. I'm just saying I'm not sure we played that fantastic. But here we are covering the line against a bowl team, by the way. Missouri's going to a bowl. Now, they're not going to play in a New Year's Day bowl. They're not going to win 10 games. But that's a bowl team. It's a good team. I would offer this. I bet you don't disagree with this, Luke. Would you say a 7-5 SEC team is the equivalent of an 8 or 9 win team in all the other leagues? All of them. And I know that's such an SEC-centric thing to say, but isn't it true? I mean, 7-5 in the SEC, I think, is the equivalent of at least 8-4 in all the other leagues. Right, Luke? Hey, Luke.
I'm there. I'm here.
I'm sorry. Okay.
No, I'm here. I mute me when you're going on a long one because I don't want to interrupt. And sometimes I interrupt you, and I'm glad I'm muted. Because I'm I interrupted him, but I did interrupt him. But anyway,
no, I'm saying is 7-5 Missouri is kind of the equivalent of 8-4 Big Ten.
No, I got you. I mute. I was saying I heard you say all that. I mute me. I don't mute you. I heard
you should. You should.
But no. So yeah, I totally agree, and I feel like a couple of reasons. Number one, the SEC does put more people in the NFL than any other league. I mean, that's just them's is just facts. I don't know what else to say about that. Number two, I think because with the notable exceptions of the 4 new teams, meaning Arkansas, South Carolina, A&M, and Missouri, we're all so closely banded together as a conference that our rivalries are naturally more intense. That's one thing that I've been a little worried about with these other teams coming in. I mean, I get it, that's another day. But anywho, and also because we're Alabama, we're always going to have a target on our back anyway. So I think, going 8-4 in the Big Ten is equal to going 7-5 in the SEC. And I have no problem saying that. I think what if you match them up team for team? I mean, we're right. Alabama, Ohio State, and then Georgia and Michigan?
I guess.
I mean, God,
I would agree that at the top, the Big Ten matches up pretty well with the SEC at the top.
But
I'm
saying
5, the top 6, but the bottom doesn't. And you get to play all those teams too. And by the way, Missouri played a Big Ten team and they won
at their place.
Purdue. They beat Purdue.
Of course, last year Purdue beat them. So
right. And Missouri, Purdue. By the way, Purdue and Missouri. I'll say this right. I would imagine. I think they're both looking at 7-5 type seasons.
True.
Purdue's a 7-5 Big Ten team. Missouri is going to be a 7-5 SEC team, and Missouri beat Purdue, which is my point. A 7-5 SEC team is just a smidge better. And by the way, the Big Ten's the second best league.
Yeah. So I mean, if you did it with another league, if you did it with the Pac-12 Big Ten or Pac-12 or whatever, I'm with you on that. So anyway, my point was that, man, we so obviously pulled up and just got into a mode of self-preservation in this contest.
Yeah. It was weird looking to me. I felt like Nick sort of, I mean, I thought panic is definitely not the right term, but it seems like Tua gets hurt and we got to put in so instead of wanting to put in Jalen, we had to put in Jalen for the first time. Really.
And that has a very different
and it had a different feel to it. Yeah. And Nick and Loxley called the game like it. I felt like he's like, oh, gotta put Jalen in, let's just run the ball and get out of here. Let's just get out of here. And it's kind of what it felt like to me when Jalen was he was 7 of 8. And plus he looked as good as he has in the previous games. I think against a team like Missouri, Jalen will put up numbers very similar to Tua. Myself, I think where there's an enormous gap between the two of them, between Tua and Jalen, is when you play an outstanding defensive team. Tua is going to adjust, play quicker, play better, play more accurately, whereas Jalen wants the DBs to cover better, wants the pass rush, rushes the passer better. Once you make the game tougher, to this point, Jalen hadn't been that great. Tua is, but against the Missouris, against the Tennessees, I think if you put them in the exact same offense right now, the numbers would be similar. But who's kidding who? I mean, Tua is going to be the first pick in the draft. I mean,
he's the first pick in the draft. He's the best quarterback I've ever seen at Alabama. And it's funny on the Dan Le Batard show. Stu Gatz, who's pretty damn funny. That show's grown on me.
I agree that it's better. I like it better now than I ever have. Although it's not like I listen to it
because it is kind of silly. I mean, it gets silly, and people who tune in expecting to hear about tell me about a cover 2. They're not going to get that shit. I mean, they're kind of silly and they make fun of themselves, and I think it's kind of cool. But anyway, Stu Gatz, every week now for the last couple of weeks in his weekend observations, which are always good, he says I still can't believe it took Nick Saban 14 games to start the best quarterback in the history of college football.
Yeah, hold on one second. Hold on.
Yeah. As Jimmy takes a phone call. Welcome back to Jimmy Takes a Phone Call. Oh, is he going to take the phone call? Is he taking the phone call? No, he's not. No, you muted yourself. You muted yourself, Jimmy.
Did I mute myself?
Yes, you did.
I'm going to mute myself intentionally. Hold the line for 1 second, please.
Okay. So I'll just talk while Jimmy talks. Anyway, I'm going back to what I was saying is that, so Stu Gatz says he calls him with a little bit of tongue in cheek, the best quarterback in college football history. And I'm telling you right now, I know I'm overreacting. I'm being hyperbolic, all that shit. I think Tua Tagovailoa will easily go down as the best quarterback in Alabama history. And I think Tua Tagovailoa is going to wind up being one of the best quarterbacks in SEC history. I was
I
just
missed all that. Why do I worry that whatever it is that you just said was probably the most awesome thing you've ever said in the 14-year history of the show?
so anyway. That's how I
Yeah.
hooked up with Sarah Jean Underwood. I just wrapped up the story, Jimmy. Sorry. He gave me. I had to sign a document that I could only say it once.
Damn it! I'll have to break precedent and listen to my own show for once.
Her Twitter game is on fire right now. By the way, if you are a Twitter guy, go to Sarah Jean Underwood and just follow her on Twitter. She's a fantastic follow. She really is.
She's very good at what she does.
Lots of side boob on Sarah Jean Underwood's Twitter page, and front boob and other side boob. All the boobs.
I want to claim, like, I mean, obviously, I think she was a Playboy Playmate of the Year, but yeah, she's kind of been my favorite, when you have like the number one celebrity crush. I mean, going back a long time. How long ago was that show on E where Hugh Hefner's, had the three girlfriends, Crystal and Bridget and
the triplets?
What's the other one? Well, I mean, they're not the triplets. It was before. It was actually before. It was with those twins. But he had a show. It's called The Girls Next Door. It was on E, and it was a reality show, if you want to call it that, about Hef and his three girlfriends. Yeah, it's that long ago because I was watching that show, and there was like a wedding or an engagement party, and probably that Wilkerson girl was getting married about the fifth time on the show, and Sarah Underwood was like a bridesmaid, or something, and I was like, holy guacamole. I ran straight to, as my father-in-law calls it, the Google button. And I hit the Google button and typed in Sarah Underwood. And that's when I'm like, I do know she is. She was, the Playmate of the Year about 2 or 3 years ago. And then, and I've been a big fan of her work ever since. Yeah. What a quality entertainer. And she actually is kind of funny. She actually is funny. She's actually smarter than, she is. She's hosted shows on cable TV. She plays a few characters on a skit show that she was invited on a few years ago. She's actually pretty entertaining. She's very smart, kind of tech savvy, which you wouldn't guess maybe.
Oh yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, she's awesome. So go follow her. But
yeah.
So other things that it was so funny. Like we so routinely beat the shit out of conference opponents that we have to look at the things within the game. Obviously the guy that Raekwon Davis turned into a human punching bag. Yeah, and that was the thing. And I mean, I know that there was a prelude to that. I am all for his being suspended either for the Tennessee game or for a half. I think he will be. I think he should be. I also think, though,
I think it'll be a half. Let me ask you this: you might know better than me. If the official saw him punch that guy, he's ejected, right?
He should have been.
Okay. I mean, what I mean is official. I mean, if the official did it right, he would have been ejected, correct?
Right.
And if he'd have been ejected, would he have to miss the whole next game or just the first half? See, I thought it would be just the next half. Yeah. Okay, then I think that's what the punishment should be.
But he didn't get ejected from this game.
And I realize that, but I mean, I agree with you. He should have. And
so what I'm saying is, then he should miss the intent of that is to miss a full game essentially, and I think he should miss a game. I'm fine.
You're fine with him missing the whole game. See, I think he should miss a half. But I agree with you that I wouldn't be like mad at Nick if Nick is like, I wouldn't be like, oh, you shouldn't. See, I think we have fans, and I heard a lot of this discussed on a talk radio show yesterday, and I think a lot of those folks are wrong. I heard a lot of them talk about how Missouri was playing dirty and they did dirty things and they should have had a couple of ejections and they did things. And I don't disagree that the officials missed too much stuff. And I don't think that Raekwon is a terrible person for doing what he did. I get it. But it was retaliation, maybe deserved, but that doesn't change what the rules are, and the rules should apply, and the official missed it. And I think we're just being good sports and teaching everyone a lesson by suspending him for either a half or the full game is fine. But just because Missouri provoked it, I don't think that's a good enough defense. I really don't. And I'm not mad at Raekwon. I think he's a great guy. And I like, what a teammate. Because I don't know that Raekwon was getting a lot of that dirty stuff, but his teammates were, and he saw that and he was upset about it. And I think that makes Raekwon a great teammate B, full of Alabama. C, I still love the guy. D, we need to sit him for a half or a game.
No, I'm with you on everything. And I want to put this caveat in there, and I don't want to sound like the Auburn fan who gets mad about a pass interference call on them when they missed a pass interference call on the other team in the first half or whatever. But I also believe a couple of Missouri guys should at least have some sort of disciplinary action too. The one who twisted Henry Ruggs' knee specifically, that guy, that was intentionally
right. And if the SEC office had come back and said, and the SEC said, hey, we're suspending Raekwon, then you better suspend that guy too.
I agree.
Don't use the videotape to suspend our guy, but not their guy.
I'm with you. And I think that was just a total dick move. And, look, Raekwon's was retaliatory, and this guy just tried to hurt Henry Ruggs for no other reason than Henry Ruggs had been embarrassing them all night.
Oh, yeah. If we played Missouri the next night and it was baseball, that dude was getting a fastball.
Right in the kisser.
Yep. I mean, that dude, that's why there are baseball brawls. But you don't get another shot at him till the next time we play Missouri, which is all the players in the current team will be gone by the time we play Missouri again. But part of it's football. A lot of it, there's a lot of talking down there, but anyway, Raekwon retaliated, and again, not everything is black and white. Retaliation's against the rules. We all know why he did it. That's why it doesn't make Raekwon a horrible person. Not every guy that's suspended for a half or a game is being suspended because they're a horrible person. They just did something they shouldn't have done, even if what they did is understandable.
Well, and also he tweeted at the guy and to everybody, to all the fans, said, look, I'm sorry. I'll face whatever consequences come my way, essentially. And the guy that he hit tweeted him back and said, all good. It's part of the game. And I think players understand that more than fans do. We want to think that our guys are always above anything like that. And when they do something like that, they're totally justified, and vice versa. When somebody does something like the guy did to Henry Ruggs, we want to vilify him as much as possible. I do think it was awful. I don't think he should never play football again. I just think, hey, look, he deserves a game or two for that.
Hey, one of my favorite Alabama football stories, I got a bunch of, but one of my favorite Alabama football stories from a former player to show why fans might take it too seriously, about the fights and the extracurricular stuff. But my buddy, he's playing football for Bill Curry in the 80s. And, he's on defense, and a guy on offense, they're going at it a little bit, because they're running the same plays over and over again. So he's trading paint with this guy on the offense, and all of a sudden he felt like he got cheap shotted a little bit. So he's like, well, next time I'm going to, so the next time they hit, he gave the dude, and he didn't like that. And then the next time it got even worse. And all this is going on without the coaches really seeing it. And then, of course, now it escalates. And then the next thing you know, they are literally swinging each other, and they're on the ground now in full pads and helmets, so nobody gets hurt. But they literally get in a big fight. Well, the thing is, back then it was 2-a-days, and this was the afternoon practice. They were already exhausted from the morning. It's hot. It's part of the reason they were so upset. I'm sure it's because they're hot and just terrible, and they're fighting pretty bad. And Curry, does as he always does and gets them separated, grabs both of them by the face mask, and I don't know that Bill cursed. He probably didn't, but whatever Bill said to him, grabbing their face mask was basically, get the hell off my practice field. Y'all are a disgrace. And he made them leave practice. So they're walking off the practice field back towards the showers because they just got kicked out, and they're kind of quiet because they'd just been swinging at each other on the field. They get halfway back, and my buddy says to him, like, my God, it's hot out here. And the other guy that swung at him and said, why didn't we think to do this an hour ago? And then they get in to take a shower and go back to the other guy's apartment, and they're drinking cold beer in the apartment while the team's still practicing, joking about.
First of all, Jimmy, you got to find a better way to end this story with. So anyway, they make up and they go take a shower, and then they go back to the dude's apartment. You got to find a better way.
I do. I probably should have written it all down before I tell that story that way. But the point is, fights happen, things happen. It's a physical game. Someone gets cheap shotted. Someone perceives they get cheap shotted, and it escalates. But when it's over, I mean, heck, look, boxers sit there and basically try to kill each other for 10 rounds. And usually when it's over, they hug and say, hey, good job. That's how it's supposed to be. But
Right.
yeah, it's easy to get, carried away. And yeah, so here we are, 39-10, and Tennessee next.
And Tennessee next. And here's the thing.
So what happens?
Well, first of all, I'm glad Tennessee beat Auburn for several reasons. Number one, I mean, I just enjoy when Auburn loses, and I've never felt about Tennessee the way a lot of people feel about Tennessee. In fact, even when I did feel that way about them for a little bit because they were beating us so routinely and because they were, the whole Roy Adams shit and Fulmer stuff, I really boiled it down to this is more about Phil Fulmer than it is about Tennessee in general. And so I was totally cool with Tennessee beating Auburn. It's good for us to, for Auburn to be down, and Tennessee's got to, if they do come back to normalcy, it'll still be a year or two away. So I'm not worried about them or anything. But when the cameras panned over to Phil Fulmer and showed that fat bastard clapping and smiling because his team had won, I immediately regretted pulling for Tennessee. I did. I was like, this is why you can't like them. Tennessee needs to realize what kind of person he is. I'm just telling you, I'm just disgusted by him. And then the fact that he led a cheer of, we don't give a damn about the whole state of Alabama. And there's Jeremy Pruitt, who's from Alabama and spent most of his life in Alabama, looking around like, I kind of do, coach. And when you recruit the state of Alabama, when you go get your Joey Kents and shit like that, do you sing that song then?
I guess. It's kind of weird. I don't know.
Why can't he just go away? And see, here's the other problem is Tennessee is going to feel like their fan base is going to feel like, well, see, now that Fulmer's back, we sort of got it going on the right track again. No, it's just eventually you guys were going to beat somebody. You couldn't lose to everybody all the time.
Yeah, it was sort of a perfect storm.
It was.
And I would tell you this, if they played Auburn in week 1, the Auburn team that beat Washington.
Oh, Auburn beat their brains in.
Tennessee wouldn't have won that game.
No.
That's a product of what we call lucky scheduling. And what that means is every season is going to have, it's like a wave. It's sometimes you're going to be playing well. Sometimes you're not going to be playing well. Auburn's going to play a little better at some point that they're playing right now. And Tennessee's going to play a little worse than what they're playing right now. And the point is, it was just the timing. That was the timing. Tennessee, they were due to play well, and Auburn is not playing well, and that's why Tennessee won the game. We're going to find out this weekend that Tennessee hasn't found their game. They don't have players. They have enough good players, and that's going to be exposed Saturday when Alabama wins handily. I'll be stunned if the game is even relatively close. Now, here I was bitching when the show started that we only covered by half a point. I haven't even seen what's the line this weekend? I haven't even seen it. Is it 25?
28.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, let's say Alabama by 30, although I think it's going to be worse than that. And I think that's roughly what I mean. Alabama's 4 or 5 touchdowns better because that's the roster. It's not coach. And Jeremy will build it up. Well, guy, I was tailgating, and a stranger from another group kind of walked by and was telling me the Tennessee score like I didn't know it, and he said something like, "Man, it's kind of like how you were just saying." He goes, "I find it so hard to say go Vols, but go Vols." And
Yeah.
I said, I saw that. I just say go Jeremy, because I don't wish misfortune on him personally, but I certainly do enjoy bad things happen in Tennessee, and I think a bad thing is going to happen this Saturday. I'm saying, Luke, here's a real lawyer answer. I think Alabama's going to win 49-7. That's my prediction. 49-7 over Tennessee this weekend. But what I really think is that it's going to be a little worse than that. A little worse. It can't be too much worse than that. Math alone says it can't be too much worse. But I'll say 49-7. What do you think?
I think that's a good score. Even they hadn't had a lot of luck scoring on us of late. I think 2 years ago they scored a touchdown when maybe Jalen got or somebody fumbled in our red zone, maybe. And what did we beat them? 49-10.
That sounds exactly right. Was that 2014?
Yeah, that was 2016.
2016. Okay, just 2 years ago. That's right. I think that's right. I like that score. That sounds about right.
And see, I feel like, and then last year the only reason they scored is because Tua threw a pick six, if you remember.
He did. He was actually a game where I didn't think Tua played that great. I mean, for Tua.
Yeah, but I don't know, that pass he threw to Ruggs that made Gary Danielson sort of, poop his pants.
Well, there was always flashes, no doubt. There were flashes every game out.
Yeah.
Just saying, obviously, what I remember is the pick six at the end, but that's. Everyone's allowed a freshman moment.
I'll go with your score. Actually, I'll go 51-7 because I want us to get over 50. We got to get that scoring average back up.
And how about this? I also think this could happen. I could see us shutting them out. And again, we have to play really well to do that. But my line of thinking there, Luke, is Tennessee isn't as good on offense as Missouri.
No.
Tennessee isn't as good on offense as Ole Miss.
No.
And we hold Ole Miss to 7 and hold Missouri to 10. And Tennessee's not as good as them. So I think it's conceivable that we goose egg their ass this weekend. I think that's very, very possible. But I think they do have. I think they're a little better on defense than offense. And Tua is still probably not 100%. I think we're going to see a healthier Tua Saturday than we saw this previous Saturday. But Tua's probably still not 100%. We're going to be missing Devontae Smith most likely, and Ruggs and Judy are a bit banged up. So I can see us not exploding and having our best offensive day, but it's not going to be close. It's not going to be close. Then we'll have 2 weeks of doing the show. I wouldn't say dreading the LSU game. That's not right. But that game in Baton Rouge is a freaking challenge. It is a freaking challenge. Because one of the things I'm going to be pointing out to you next week, Luke, when we do 2 weeks of LSU hype, is I'm going to ask you next week, Luke, if Ohio State played at LSU, what's the score? If Clemson played at LSU, what's the score? Because if we're holding ourselves to a standard so well, I mean, what I mean is I think a vanilla Alabama fan is going to say, I think LSU would beat Ohio State 22 to 17. I don't think Ohio State can beat LSU. And they'll say, okay, well, what's the Alabama LSU score? Oh, well, that'll be like 35-6 Alabama. I mean, that just sort of infuriates. We can't be 5 touchdowns better than everybody else. Maybe we'll prove to be, but if that's the expectation, if that's the standard, we're just setting ourselves up for failure. So anyway, the LSU game is going to be really tough. The Tennessee game is not.
No, I'm with you on that. But here's the thing. I think the Tennessee game, we want to have some good mojo heading into that game. We had Tua got a little dinged up. Devontae Smith, Henry Ruggs, and Jerry Jeudy all got a little dinged up. Alex Leatherwood went out of the game. Max still playing on that hurt foot. I mean, we get, so I think this is going to be a good game for us let's get our feet back up under us. And that's why I want Tua to play. I want Tua to play because I'm a selfish bastard. And we've only got I had a countdown before, maybe 22.
4 games.
Huh?
Yeah, 4 games after this and next year, and that's all the Tua we get.
And however many playoff games we're in.
Right.
But my point is that I want to see him play all these games in an Alabama uniform. I 100% believe he's not going to pull a Peyton Manning and come back for his senior year. He shouldn't. So we only got so many more games of him. So with the people that say they want him to sit, they don't appreciate the sweet Hawaiian prince like I appreciate the sweet Hawaiian prince. I want to see him. I want to sit on my fat ass, eat Pringles, and watch Tua.
And
I want pineapple flavored Pringles. Toot sweet.
And is there a better Tua watch fest than watching him extend the win streak to Tennessee to will it be 13 or 12 or 13 or
it'll be 12, yeah.
12.
That's that's a shitload of years in a row to beat a pretty doggone good program.
It'd kind of be a lot in a row to beat Kentucky. And I know Florida just beat Kentucky 31 times in a row, which was like one of the longest streaks in the history of college football. But I'm saying it's hard to beat basically anyone 12 years in a row. This is Tennessee.
It's amazing. I mean, it really is. And really, I don't see where it's going to get better for them.
Are they going to beat Tua and Bryant Denny next year?
No.
I think their best chance is the year after Tua leaves up in Knoxville. That will be one today we can say, now let's see what they got then.
In 2 years, I think we have Georgia at home. We have Tennessee on the road. We have USC and Dallas. Shit, man. In 2 years, it's going to be a thing with a new quarterback. It'll be another Tagovailoa probably, though. That's the good news.
Today, I would say it is.
Yeah.
But how about this? We'll leave it with this. No one talks about this possibility, and no one talks about it because it's not going to happen. But what if Jalen returns to Alabama next year
Redshirt.
and redshirts?
Yeah.
And then Tua plays his junior and final season, goes to the first pick in the draft. Then Jalen plays his 5th year at Alabama after Tua. How good could he be? How good could he be with 2 more years of Dan Enos coaching him up? Because
let me say this. Here's the other thing. If the more I hear and see of Jalen around the university, he was at the basketball scrimmage last night just shooting a jumper for no reason.
Yep.
The more I see him around, the more I think this son of a bitch just likes it here. And there'll be people that kill him for it, national people like, oh, you're making the worst decision for your future. And really, I don't know that he is. If he goes to TCU, let's just pick a place out of the air, and he goes to TCU and they go 7-5 or 8-4 or 9-3 or whatever and play in the Pringles Poulan Weed Eating Bowl, then great. I mean, what did he really do? But if he stays at Alabama, he's going to continue. He's going to get more exposure at Alabama unless he transfers to Ohio State, than anywhere else he could transfer to.
During the height of the Pete Carroll dynasty at USC, their backup quarterback who never started seasons like Jalen did, Matt Castle, he got drafted. He was literally the backup that never started a game. And he got drafted and then played in the NFL a bunch of years. But here's my thing about that is there are Jalen haters out there. How that has happened boggles my feeble mind, but there are Jalen haters out there, and they want it both ways. They want to say it's a joke that guy would ever think for 1 second he's an NFL quarterback. Then when he doesn't leave, these same people are going to go, why the hell isn't he leaving? If he wants to play in the NFL, he better go someplace and play. Well, you've already said he can't play in the NFL. Why do you care? You've already said he's not an NFL player.
Right.
So if you've proclaimed that he'll never play in the NFL, then why do you want him to leave?
Why do you give a shit?
Why? What's the purpose? Why would you give a shit?
Well, Jimmy,
why would you care?
I know you got to go. I need to go, but I want to say really quickly, do you think Gus Malzahn is Auburn's coach next year?
Yes.
I'm going to say no.
With massive staff changes.
Well, I'm going to say no because I'm beginning to think I didn't think there was any way they could lose to Ole Miss because Ole Miss can't stop shit. But man, right now I'm leaning no. I'm not definitive, but I'm leaning no. If they lose to Ole Miss, there's no way he's the coach next year. No way.
I would bet straight up right now. I don't bet on games, as we always joke about here. I'm terrible at picking games. But if right now you forced me to bet on Auburn and Ole Miss as a pick 'em, and I know Auburn's favored. I believe they're favored by a few.
They are.
But if you told me right now it's a pick 'em, pick one and put $500 on it, I'm picking Ole Miss.
I'm with you. Even without DK Metcalf, they lost him.
Yeah, well, that hurts them a little bit because Ole Miss has a handful of dudes, and DK Metcalf is why Ole Miss could beat Auburn, and they can't afford to lose him like Alabama can play a week without Devontae Smith. They have limited dudes, and trust me, that kid is a dude, but that hurts Ole Miss. But I still think Ole Miss wins the game. I still think they do.
All right,
I still think they do.
We'll talk next week after we whip that Tennessee ass.
12 in a row. Jalen Waddle was 6 years old the last time Tennessee won this game.
Oh, please let Jalen Waddle return a punt for a touchdown.
Or 3.
I don't know that we've returned a punt for a touchdown against Tennessee in this streak. Yes, we have. Eddie Jackson did 2 years ago.
Eddie did. My first guess was Arenas, but heck, if Eddie Jackson played a game as a punt returner, he probably returned a touchdown for it.
That's true. All right, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide. See you, Luke.
See you, buddy.
Bye. Bye.